channel. I hope you are all doing fine. I'm back to you for our rest of the verses from Canto 1, Chapter 1 from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is our reading series from Srimad Bhagavatam, Nityaṁ Bhāgavata-Sevayā. So, we will go over with the 6 questions that are asked by the sages to Srila Suta Goswami. And the questions are started from the verse 9 of this chapter. So we will try to cover all the questions in this class by discussing the verse by verse translation. So we will start with the Mangalacharan for Srimad Bhagavatam reading. Narayanam namaskritam naranchaiva narottama deving saraswating vyasam tato jayamudiraye srinvatam sa katha krishna purna savana kirtana hridyantastu hi avadrani vidunati suritsatam nashta prayeshu avadreshu nityam Bhāgavata-Sevayā bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati neshtaki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'm going to start reading from verse 9, and before starting reading I'm praying to my I'm praying to the lotus feet of my Guru Maharaj if he can help me through these classes, that I can preach the messages of the Srimad Bhagavatam properly. So I will not read the Sanskrit verses, rather I will read the translation, and we'll see what the point we can collect it from the purpose of each verses. So in Canto 1, Chapter 1, verse 9, the translation is, the sages are saying, please therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. So there are the 6 questions that sages were asking to Srila Suta Goswami, and the 6 questions are that what is the absolute and ultimate good for everyone? What is the essence of Vedic scriptures? Why did Lord Krishna appear himself? Please describe the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Please tell us the purpose of the 10 incarnations of Godhead. Where has religion takes shelter now that Krishna has left this world? So let's see and go through the verses one by one. In verse 9, this verse says the first question out of 6. And it is what is the absolute and ultimate good for everyone. Here we can see that the sages and the acharyas and Goswamis, they are always absorbed in the thought of well-being of others. They ask for the thing that is good, ekanta shreya, for them, which will be the good and ultimate good for the living being. And not only this, they are also requested Suta Goswami to explain those in an understandable and easy way that the living entity can understand. Why he asks this? He asks this question? The reason behind asking this question is explained in the next verse. So let's go to the next verse, verse 10. The translation is that, O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, they are always disturbed. So this verse describes the characteristics of the people in Kali Yuga. What are the characteristics? They are short-lived. alpa ayusha, because of their irregular habits. Their ayu is decreased, alpa ayusha. They are lazy, mandaha. They are lazy in spiritual advancement, to be self-realized. They don't want to be self-realized. They don't want to get the knowledge how to be self-realized. They are always, because they are always involved in this sense gratification, so they don't feel any interest to get the knowledge for self-realized. They are sumandaha, means misguided. They are misguided by whom? By the so-called educations. In Ishopanishad, there are mentioned about the 3 types of so-called education. What are those 3 types? First one is the godless education. Now the teachers, the education systems are giving the education without touching anything about the Lord. Another type is Veda-Vada-Rata. Even though the teachers have the knowledge of Vedas, what they do? They explain, they propagate the knowledge of Veda in their own way. What were explained in the scriptures, they are not propagating in that way. They knows the Veda, but they propagating the knowledge in their own way. It's called Veda-Vada-Rata. And another type is the Maya Prahita Jnana. Means they, living entities, have the knowledge, but that knowledge is covered by the illusion. And another characteristic is that Manda Bhagya. These living entities are unfortunate, because even though they have desire to be self-realized, they become victimized by the misguided teacher. Because if they want to be self-realized, they are failed to choose the right teacher from the authority that came from the disciplic succession starting from Lord Krishna. They failed to choose that teacher, and what happened? They become victimized by the misguided teacher. That's called Manda Bhagya. Upadruta. Next one is Upadruta, means disturbed. Even though he surpasses all the hurdles and are situated in a right path, the main enemy resides in ourselves. Within ourselves is the mind. The main enemy, mind, will not allow to walk on the right path and left them disturbed. This is the age of disqualification. Here, the chances are becoming less to be self-realized. So the next verse 11, the translation is, there are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties, which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. And therefore, O sage, select the essence of all scriptures and explain it for the good of the living beings, that by such instruction their hearts may be fully satisfied. So here in this verse, the second question has been asked. Through this verse, what is the second question? The second question is, what is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures? So through this verse, again, the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam is again established. How? When the sages were asking to tell them the essence of all Vedic literatures, Srila Suta Goswami, in response to that inquiry, started narrating the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because in this disturbed age, Srimad Bhagavatam is the one and only remedy to get satisfaction. In this material world, the satisfaction in the living entity is absent. Why? Because they are always feeling incomplete. Due to the incomplete knowledge of the complete whole, the absolute truth. They don't have the complete knowledge about the absolute truth. That's why they are always feeling incomplete inside, and which makes them dissatisfied. They are not feeling satisfied. In Ishopanishad invocation it says that Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Evavashishyate. So we need to know about the complete whole, the absolute truth. So let's go to the next verse, verse 12. The translation is, all blessings upon you, O Shuta Goswami. You know, for that purpose the personality of Godhead appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva. Here in this verse the third inquiry is revealed. What is the third inquiry? That the reason. Third inquiry is the why Lord Krishna appeared himself. The reason behind the appearance of Lord Krishna. In this verse, we can point out three different important terms. That is Bhagavan. Who is Bhagavan? According to Parashar Muni, the father of Vyasdeva, Bhagavan is who possesses all wealth, all strength, all beauty, all fame, all knowledge, and all renunciation. And the second term is Sadvatam, means the pure devotees. The pure devotees who are always protected by the Lord. Pati, the protector, the absolute truth here, referring Pati as the protector. And who is the protector? The Supreme Lord, protector of the pure devotees, Sadvatam. And the pure devotees are always qualified to get the blessings from the Lord, Vadramte. So, Lord always helps the pure devotee and always protects them and blesses them always, that they can preach the holy name of the Lord. So the verse 13, the translation is, O Shuta Goswami, we are eager to learn about the personality of Godhead and His incarnation. Please explain to us those teachings imparted by previous masters, acharyas, for one is uplifted both by speaking them and by hearing them. So this verse reveals the fourth inquiry. What is the fourth inquiry? If you remember, please describe the pastimes of. Fourth inquiry is the sages were eager to hear about the different incarnations of the Supreme Lord. Along with these, two other points are also pointed out from this verse. What are the points? One must hear about Supreme Lord through authoritative disciplic succession, that is anuvarnitam, to explain by following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. So when we have the eagerness to hear the pastimes of the Lord, we should hear from the authoritative sources of the disciplic succession that came from Lord Krishna. What is the other point? One can be transcendentally elevated only when the transcendental activities of Lord is explained and discussed among the speaker with pure heart and the listener with pure heart, perceiver and the giver. So both the giver and the speaker and the listener both should have the pure heart. Then they can relish the pastimes of Supreme Lord. This is well explained in Nectar of Instruction, verse 4, termed as Gujyam Akhati Pichati. Okay, So then the next verse 14 and 15. 14 and 15 are glorifying Lord by explaining. Let me find the verse 14. Yeah. So 14 and 15 are glorifying the Lord by explaining His potency, which will purify us. Verse 14 explains the purification process through chanting the holy name. And verse 15 explains the purification through devotional service. Let's go through the verse 14. The translation of verse 14 is, living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. This verse glorifies the holy name or the potency of the holy name. Here it says that one who chants the holy name even once in unconscious state can be freed from the bondage of repeated birth and death. In the 8th instructions that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us, called the Shikshashtakam, the first verse also glorifying the holy name by Cheta Darpanamarjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Sriya Koirava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Bodhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Putipadam Purnamitasmadanam Sarvattasnapanam Parang Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Cheta Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. The holy name cleanses the heart of all dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. So next is verse 15. The translation of the verse 15 is, O Shuta, those great sages who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can at once sanctify those who come in touch with them, glorifying their pure devotees, whereas the waters of the Ganges can sanctify only after prolonged use. This verse glorifies the Lord through His devotees. Purification by the association of the pure devotee is more powerful than the purification by prolonged use of Ganges water. Swadhuni. In this verse, the Ganges water is addressed as Swadhuni. So in Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 2, verse 51, Lord Krishna says the same thing, that by devotional service, one can be liberated from the bondage of repeated birth and death. Janma bandha vinirmukta. So, Lord has been glorified here in verse 14 and 15 by His holy name and by His pure devotees. So next is verse 16. The translation is, who is there desiring deliverance from the vices of the age of quarrel, who is not willing to hear the virtuous glories of the Lord? Here in this verse, the one and only way to get the actual peace is described. In this age of Kali, where people are frustrated to get the peace in one's life, they may sometimes misguided by the so-called leader who give them hope and lead them in a wrong way, in a wrong direction. But they have no information about the real and simple method, which is the hearing. The simple method to get the peace in mind is hearing the glories of the activities of the Supreme Lord. That is what explained in this verse. Verse 17, the translation is, His transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please therefore speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. So this is the fifth inquiry. The purpose of the 10 incarnations of Godhead. What are the purpose? The sages are asking about the various incarnations which are explained, which were explained by the great sages like Narada, because they have those transcendental knowledge. Thus, they want to hear not only the pastimes of Supreme Lord, but also of other incarnations. Because the sages who have the transcendental knowledge, they know the real thing, their real truth. Thus, they can explain the real truth properly to us. So, Srila Suta Goswami was hearing those pastimes from the great sages like Narada, and the sages in the Naimisharanya, they are also requesting to Srila Suta Goswami, because he has been blessed by those sages, those pure devotees. So thus he can explain, he can narrate those pastimes to those sages. They are asking in the place of Naimisharanya. The expansion, those incarnations are the expansions of Lord Krishna. All the 10 incarnations are the expansions of Lord Krishna. In Brahma Samhita, verse 39, there is stated about the different incarnation, including Lord Rama, who are the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyomena Tishtanna Navatara Makaroda Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So the Ramadi means including Lord Rama, all other incarnations are the expansions of Lord Krishna. But when Lord Krishna appears in this material world, he appears as his original form. Next is verse 18. Let's go to the translation of verse 18. O wise Shuta, please narrate to us the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Godhead's multi-incarnations. Such auspicious adventures and pastimes of the Lord, the Supreme Controller, are performed by his internal powers. So this is the continuation of the fifth inquiry about the pastimes of Lord and his expansions. Here it is mentioned about the internal potency of Lord Shri Krishna. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 20, verse 111, it is stated that Krishna Shavabhika Tin Shakti Parinati Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti or Maya Shakti. The transcendental pastimes of the Lord are performed by his spiritual energy, Chit Shakti. It is called spiritual energy, internal energy. It is also mentioned in this verse that they are performed by his internal powers. We, the living entities, are the Jiva Shakti, marginal potency, and this phenomenal material world is his Maya Shakti, the external energy. Verse 19, translation is, we never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with him relish hearing and his pastimes at every moment. This verse actually glorifies the transcendental pastimes of Supreme Lord, which is ever fresh. A comparison between these pastimes and the material stories has also been discussed in the purport. Mundane literature is in the mode of darkness, whereas the transcendental literature is luminous. That means that the light will show its brightness with progressive reading. When you lit the luminate light, that it gradually becomes bright. That is what is explained here, that the transcendental literature is luminous. It will show its brightness with progressive reading. It will stimulate the devotion within us. Like Bhagavad-Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago. But still we are discovering new understanding upon over and over reading. One who have developed the taste hearing this transcendental literature will never be attracted to the mundane literature. Okay, the next verse is 20. The translation is, the Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, along with Balarama, played like a human being. So he performed many superhuman acts. This verse is the continuation of the request of the sages to speak more about the pastimes of Krishna along with his brother Balaram. They have performed as human. Though they have performed as human, they are called here as superhuman. We can understand what they try to explain this thing, because though Krishna appeared here in a human body, he has performed so many activities that are not possible for the normal human, right? Lifting Govardhan hill, killing so many asuras, killing Putana when he was a baby. So these are not normal human activity, right? These are all superhuman activity. That's what the sages are explaining here. Though he is appeared to us as a human body, his activities, his acting were not as a normal human. All those actions are as superhuman activities. So verse 21, the translation is, knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in the holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead, and in this way perform sacrifice. So this verse clearly indicates that every ages there is different process of sacrifices that can help us to elevate to transcendental level. For example, in Shatta Yuga, the process was long meditation. Treta Yuga, the process was great sacrifice. Dwapar Yuga, the process was self-realization by worshipping Lord. But we are in this Kali Yuga, those are not possible due to short-lived lack of purity in doing sacrifices, disturbed mind, that we cannot concentrate in worshipping the Supreme Lord. That's why the recommended sacrifice for this Kali Yuga is the hear and chanting Sravanam and Kirtanam about the Lord's name. So in continuation to the verse 22, the translation is that we think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of human being. So we can relate this verse with another verse of Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 11, chapter 20, verse 17, where it is explained that the human body as a boat, this material existence is like a ocean of miseries. That what it says here, that ocean of Kali is full of miseries. So this material world, this age of Kali, is the ocean of miseries. And in that verse, the human body is compared as a boat, and the spiritual master is the captain. And instructions of Supreme Personality of Godhead are the favorable wind. So here we can correlate that they are saying that we can, that we may accept you as captain of the ship. So the same thing, that the instruction of the spiritual master and the instruction of Suta Goswami as a captain of that ship. The ship is the human body. So this body can then help the soul inside us by acting as a boat to cross the ocean of miseries of this material world. So let's go to the last verse of this chapter 23. The translation is that this will be the sixth inquiry of the sages to Srila Suta Goswami. Since Sri Krishna, the absolute truth, the master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter. The sixth inquiry is that in Bhagavad-Gita, Lord Krishna declared that he appeared in this material world every time where there is gross misuse or neglect of the principles of the religion. He come every time to restore that religion. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashanaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So now the sages were asking that Lord Krishna has departed from this material world. So where will the religion have the shelter, because Lord Krishna is not here. So this is their last inquiry to Srila Suta Goswami. The sages were inquiring about the shelter of this religious principle after the departure of Lord Krishna. So that's the end of the chapter 1 of Canto 1. That the sages were asking all 6 questions to Srila Suta Goswami, and Srila Suta Goswami will answer all the questions in the next verses, in the next chapters. So we'll go through one by one in our preceding classes. So that's all for today, that we have covered the chapter 1, and I will come back to you with our next verses from chapter 2 of Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and keep chanting, keep remembering Lord Krishna, and make your life successful. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Hare Krishna.